Hello, everybody. Louise Edington back again, Cosmical Astrology. And it's Monday, December the 9th. And I realized I have not done a week ahead forecast yet. Apologies for that. This cold I had last week knocked me for six. And whilst I managed to keep a lot of things going, um, I was definitely not right. And I'm still kind of congested, but on the way out of it, it was a beast. You guys do not want it, I tell you. But anyway, better late than never. So here's the week ahead forecast. And I do want to say, while before I go in, that I actually made my way back to my gym today. I took it easy. They know I've been sick, and it's mental out there with drivers. I only drove 10 minutes, right? It's not far. And I saw two people just decide that the red light did not matter. They decided that they didn't count for them. So they just ran the red light. I saw people kind of cutting people up. People were really speeding, and it's like people just don't care anymore. So please take care out there. You know, I'm also hearing of road rage incidents. I know of somebody who lost their partner to a road rage incident very recently. So it's very real. So I'm not saying don't drive. I'm just saying be mindful. You be the one that kind of holds back and goes, okay, you have at it. You run the red light, you speed, whatever, and just take care of you. Okay, so the week of, well, as I said, we're on December the 9th now. So let me share the chart, and I will be pulling cards at the end as usual. Kathy, Andy, and I just uploaded um, another video as well, looking at the Broligarchy. That's the Musk, Teal, Sachs, the PayPal Mafia, the tech bros, whatever you want to call them. And we also looked at Assad and Tulsi Gabbard, because these big global changes are impacting the US and the UK and the rest of Europe and Australia. So, it's important to pay attention because all of these things are coming together. They're starting to seed. I will add to things that we talked about in the video I did with Kathy and Andy, that Mitch McConnell made rather a strong speech, saying, basically taking a side swipe um, at Dump 45. So, I don't know why I couldn't do it before, but anyway. And also in a comment, somebody told me that NATO saw off some Russian fighter jets over the Baltic. So, there's definitely a lot going on out there. And there's a lot of kind of jockeying and things that we're not seeing. So you kind of have to pay attention. All right, so let's dive in. So clearly I should have done this for yesterday, and let me just quickly talk about what happened yesterday, December the 8th. We had the moon was in Pisces. So where are we today? It's now in Aries. And over the last day or so, the moon occulted Saturn and Neptune. That's happened every month this year and finishes in January. And that's it. No more occultations of Saturn and Neptune, pretty much, and for the foreseeable future. And that's really rare to have that happening so often. And they are like eclipses. And as we looked at on the video with Kathy and Andy, um, Assad's Saturn is at 13 Pisces. And as that occultation happened was pretty much when the news came that he'd fallen, he'd gone off to Russia, and his reign of terror was over. So, sometimes you really cannot make astrology up. So he was having his Saturn return, and there was this eclipse or occultation of Saturn at the same time. Also yesterday, the other major aspect was that Ceres and Pluto met. Now Ceres is pulling away. The three of them, Venus, Ceres, and Pluto, were all at that 0-degree mark on December the 7th. I think that's a significant start. And then also on December the 8th, in the morning, everything happened in the morning pretty much on December the 8th. We had the first quarter moon. So this week is taking us up to a very big full moon, which is affecting a lot of these charts of people that are in the news. But also, you know, it will be affecting you. This is kind of very crazy energy, which is why I talked about the driving. Mercury is related to vehicles often, and well, it is, and you know, people are literally kind of losing their minds, it seems, with this Mercury retrograde a bit. So again, just be mindful. So on to December the 9th, which is today. And I'm not going to talk about many aspects, but I do want to just point out that the moon was conjunct the North Node. I don't normally look at the lunar aspects, but the moon was aspecting all of these three and then conjunct the North Node. And this is really activating the area of the Venus star point for the next Venus retrograde. And I have launched the sales page for my next Venus retrograde class with an early bird offer for those that register in December and an option to make 3 payments. That will go away at the end of December. And then there's going to be a price hike and a 2-payment option for January. And then if anybody signs up after the end of January, it's full price of $397 for the whole class. So take a look now if you're interested. My Venus class is absolutely amazing, if I say so myself. So here we are now, we're on December the 9th, and I am just going to move us on to tomorrow so that we can move forward. So 12 a.m. So let's move on to December the 10th, Tuesday, December the 10th. Now then, Venus over here, she just had her moon Venus conjunction. That was the throat chakra. She's nearly finished this journey as Gemini evening star before she goes retrograde in February. Okay, so Venus will aspect the nodes tomorrow, early tomorrow. So here's Venus, and here are the nodes. And of course, the South Node is Libra guided, saying no more playing nice. It's time to change things up and don't smooth things over for the sake of it. Take a stand. The North Node is saying, yes, stand up for yourself. I see a lot of people really upset that people are kind of saying, you know, well, you know, that shooter of the United Healthcare CEO was a bit of a Robin Hood figure because the health insurance company here is or the system here is just terrible. It's all for the shareholders. It's all for profit. It's a terrible system. Now, I understand that nobody really, you know, wishes that guy was murdered, you know, and it's just this archetypal feeling of the people are rising up. Not that we're condoning violence to solve it. It's just archetypally the people are going, we've kind of had enough with all of this. Well, Venus coming up to the nodes is saying, you know, in the sign of the people, is saying we need to start standing up for the people and for our values, our deepest values. So that's happening tomorrow. Then also tomorrow, the sun over here in Sagittarius still makes a lovely aspect, fiery aspect to Chiron, the shaman or medicine man or healer, saying if it is to be, it's up to me, really. You know, in Aries, Chiron in Aries has kind of been healing that overly aggressive kind of masculine, the overbearing, not just men, this is masculine, that overbearing might is right kind of energy. But of course, that means also those people are being triggered. You hear a lot of stories about people saying men are suffering because they're not allowed to be men anymore. Well, actually, I think it's because, their softer side has not been accepted anymore. And so when are we going to kind of just come into this healing and realize that we all have both yin and yang within us? But that's kind of my opinion. The sun in Sagittarius is very visionary, very fired up, has just been opposing Jupiter. So it's very fired up to take action and start speaking the truth. Sagittarius is truth and truth seeking and higher knowledge. So, we are on the path of trying to choose, or hopefully choosing, the higher way forward. Okay, so let's move a day forward onto Wednesday, December the 11th. There are not many aspects, but the moon will leave Aries and move into the sign of Taurus at 10:55 a.m. And in fact, I don't always talk about the moon aspects, but they are really strong at the moment, so they're worth mentioning. Of course, I write about all the moon aspects in my daily Substack blog. So by the evening, the moon is in Taurus and comes to square Mars, which has just gone retrograde, as Venus comes up to oppose Mars. Venus will actually oppose Mars very early on December the 12th. So that's forming a very powerful fixed T-square with the divine masculine and the divine feminine facing off to each other. The moon is in Venus sign. She's clearly at a place of strength here. And Mars retrograde, leaders falling. Of course, Assad fell as Mars stationed retrograde as well. This is I really believe that the kind of energy of autocracy, I'm the king, I'm the ruler, my word goes, all those things like that, is being taken down. And we had to kind of see it to bring it down. Okay. So, this is a powerful fixed T square. It's only created by the moon, but the Venus-Mars opposition is very strong, and it ties into the birth chart of Cariclo, or the discovery chart. I did a whole video on that. This was her discovery point. Well, it was 6 Leo. And over here, there was a whole load of stuff in Aquarius that's being activated. But this is squared this time by the moon in a lovely earthy sign, which is very rooted. This is saying, what are our real rooted values? Let's get to the root. Let's heal this. Let's kind of come together and kind of heal this separation that we've had within ourselves and in the collective. So, that's a T-square definitely worth mentioning. And it is worth mentioning, that, of course, that the moon will square Pluto and Ceres along the way, but it's the T-square that's the strongest. But all of this big T-square is moving us more towards this Aquarian energy, because Mars is retrograde, and that's the future, hopes and wishes for the future, and so on. So on the 12th, we just have the exact Venus-Mars opposition. So I'm going to take us to the 13th. So this should be fairly quick. Mercury on the 13th, retrograde, of course, has gone back to its degree that it's going to station direct at on the 15th. But before it goes back to, no, at the 6-degree mark, sorry, Mercury will actually aspect Venus a little bit earlier in the day. So that as well is really tying in that Mars-Venus opposition. Mercury never quite aspects Mars properly, but they are speaking to each other because Mars stationed retrograde at 6 Leo. So we've got a dance again between Venus, Mars, and Mercury. And Mercury is retrograde and saying, let's revisit all this. But look at this, at the same time as Mercury comes up and activates the opposition with the divine masculine and the divine feminine facing off to each other in the sign of the leader, royalty, oligarch, if you like, because I think it is, and the sign of the people. Mercury, visionary in Sagittarius, opposes the moon. The moon comes and activates that in Mercury's sign as well. These are big turning points. And honestly, it's no wonder people are driving like idiots and not thinking straight, because this is crazy making energy. And you have to do your self-care to stay very grounded and rooted in all of this. Okay. So we've got that, the moon going into Gemini. So let's move on to the 13th. We're on the 13th. Okay. So the 14th, my birthday. Hope you'll all remember. And that's the point. My husband said, if you can't think of anything that your partner would, that you would like to have as a gift for the holidays, for if you celebrate, or Christmas, whichever you call it, why not get them to sign you up for the Venus retrograde class? Be the best gift you ever got. I can tell you, it's amazing, that class. Now, there's not a huge amount of aspects on that day, but the moon is in the sign of Gemini. So here it is over here on the 14th. We're at the evening, so it's a bit late. But earlier in the day, the moon does activate that Venus, as I mentioned. But the moon will also square Saturn, which can be a little bit of a reality check, a little bit of a clarity, let's say, as well. It can make things very clear. And the moon will conjunct Jupiter as well. So there's some big ideas, big news. It's coming out at a great rate of knots, the news. I can't keep up with it. And I really thank the people in the YouTube comments on our videos, and put them anywhere, because I read all the comments. Sometimes I only get a chance to heart them, for pointing out the bits of news we've missed, because there's so much happening. It's almost like too much to keep up with, and there's going to be more. So then into the morning of the 15th, the next day after my birthday, on Sunday. It's nice having a birthday on Saturday for once. Anyway, the full moon, which I've done a whole video on, and so this is a point of fulfillment. But of course, the light, shining light on information is going to bring in all the things we're leading to. Mercury is stationing direct later that day, and Mercury rules the full moon. It's very close to Jupiter. There's lots of other things tied into all of this, but I wanted to mention the 23-degree mark. I've written about 23 in the past so many times. It really is the most human of numbers. 23 pairs of chromosomes in our DNA, 23 seconds for blood to go around our body, 23 digits, so 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 ears and a nose, 23 days in our biorhythmic cycle. 23 is also the number of chaos magic, hence all the chaos out there. It really is kind of the most very, very human of numbers. Now then, if you notice, so that's at 23. This full moon is in a rather awkward aspect with Uranus, which is in Venus sign Taurus, about almost going back to 23 degrees at this point, which was the discovery degree of Ceres. But it's also kind of the It's also a point where Venus and Uranus last met before Venus went all the way around and got to here in Uranus sign. This is, the big change bringer, the unexpected, the radical. It's in an aspect of adjustment to the Sagittarius sun, truthful, truth-seeking, wandering, exploring. And it's in it's got a pebble in its shoe to the Gemini moon. Something is going to, there could be some of the news that comes out on this full moon could be quite shocking, in my opinion. Also on the 15th, I mentioned Ceres over here. Ceres needs met and unmet, all our needs, physical, emotional, all those kind of things, and also grief and loss. Ceres in Aquarius is aspecting the nodes. The North Node is now at the point where the next Venus star point is going to be on March the 22nd. But this is too the divine feminine as well. And Ceres is moving towards the North Node with Venus. And this is kind of saying, we are here to, this is the divine feminine bringing in the potential for healing. And again, it is women, but it's also not just women. It is the divine feminine is going to stand up and, and say, no, we're not doing this anymore. We have to work for the collective, for the people. Aquarius is also global patterns, alliances, and things. It could also even be said here to represent NATO in some ways. So watch this space for this under the full moon. And well, it's the same day. Okay, so later the same day after the full moon, the moon moves into her own sign of Cancer, and we're into a new week, and I will be remembering to do the next week ahead video, hopefully. But I do want to mention one other thing on December the 15th, in case I'm a little bit late. The sun comes up and gets to the 24-degree mark and aspects, and it's not on the chart because I took it out, Eris, the revealer of artifice, the puller down of picket fences, revealing where people are not standing up for the little guy, all these things. These autocrats, they just want power and money for themselves. Well, I think people have had enough. More and more people every day. I just see it on my Facebook friends posts and things like that. People are just saying, we're not taking this anymore. Anyway, so let's have a look at some cards for the week. Just 3 cards. Nice cards, actually. All right, so I'm not going to go and read the books. I just want to give you a guide for the week ahead. So Venus in Aries, even though we actually have Venus in Aquarius, but this is completion. This is bringing everything whole into the middle. It's a fire because it's the wands. It's the 4 of Wands, which at 4s are stability in the tarot. So this is, our relationships and our part in relationships, bringing things into center and bringing a sense of more stable foundations. Then we get Ace of Cups. Aces are always new beginnings, and cups are emotions, of course, and they're emotion signs. This is and water signs generally, by the way. This is kind of saying a new sense of emotional new beginnings. I like this week. Look at this one too, more fire. And this is Jupiter in Leo. This is a 6. So this is a nice card as well. This is a very feminine number. And look at this. This is bringing everything back into harmony as well with passion. So remember that this is happening within you and without. So, I think good things are coming. I keep promising. I know, and I know the news always seems bad. Don't watch it. Listen to us because we're pointing out where things are changing. All right. Peace.